We here, baby.
We're live, New York, baby.
What's up, y'all? How y'all doing? Second episode.
Yeah, special episode.
It is a special
Yeah.
episode. Do you want to tell them why?
Well, it's special because you are on location in New York City. This is not trick photography.
Nope.
You're literally right across from me.
You notice this is a straight shot. I mean, there's no screens, there's no headphones because we're together. Touch me.
Yeah, look. Oh. Oh, I forgot what that felt like.
Yeah, well, now you know. Yeah, we're here. Where are we at? What neighborhood are we in?
We are in Astoria, Queens.
Okay.
On location at Grove 34, which is this awesome event space, podcast studio. So if you guys are in New York and you want to have a setup, like you definitely need to come check out Grove 34. Our church meets here. They've been amazing. They do a great job building community with comedians, and they've done a great job hosting us as a church. You know, a lot of church plants in New York, it's like you got to do the full setup and the full teardown. Yeah. These guys, like they will set a lot of our church up for us.
Yeah,
the only part,
chairs and
and the only part they don't set up is like, oh, we're not sure about how our chair's set up, so we'll take care of that. But even like they'll hang out the morning of, and you know, I don't know, just create community. Conversation.
These guys are awesome.
Yeah,
they
really
mainly
cool.
use it like for comedy club, like a comedy
it's
club?
mainly a comedy, but I mean it's an event space. Like people book it all the time, birthday parties, like baby showers. You know, it's a really cool spot. So we've definitely enjoyed being able to hang out here and meet them, and also get to use this cool space.
So y'all, if you need a podcast studio in New York City, Grove 34.
Yep, absolutely.
In Astoria. Yeah, man, we're here. Second episode, Brodad Podcast. Thank you for listening. Again, we said on the last episode, we hope people stick around. I mean, because regardless, we're here.
Yeah, what's the opposite of a fine wine? You know, like it gets better over time. Usually, people are like, "Wow, those people are really cool," and then it just takes them a few days, and they're like, "Well, I don't know if I actually want to stick around."
I think we're on a roller coaster that only goes up. I mean, if people don't understand that,
What are you even doing here? Awesome. Well, so you're in New York.
Yep,
so I thought it would be cool if we did like just New York themed. I mean, obviously a lot of what we talk about is going to have, you know, New York running through it anyway.
York-esques,
But let's talk a little bit about New York in general, what it's like to live here, what it's like to have a family here.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you could give me some explanation as to why you left New York.
I still don't know.
Yeah. But maybe you could explain that. But yeah, so why don't you start just like share a little bit about how you ended up in New York in the first place.
Yeah. So, you know, for those who don't know, I moved to New York in the summer of 2019. Perfect time right before the pandemic. So got a little bit of a city life before the world ended.
A little bit of a taste.
Yeah. And then, my story of New York kind of starts in 2016. Came here on a 2-week trip with our college group, just to see all kinds of different ministries around the city. And kind of that's where I spent like 10 days. So that's like a really good amount of time. Like some people go for like 2-3 days or like less than a week to New York. And you're like, okay, like, you know, you stay in Manhattan, you go see the Statue of Liberty, you go, you know, you do the big touristy things. Well, I'd already done that in like 7th grade. I'd come to New York to do the tourist thing. Then this one was really a local, hyper-local trip where you're going to different neighborhoods, you're leaving Manhattan. So that was where I really got to see all of New York. And so from there, I like fell in love with just everything. I mean, the energy, the different neighborhoods, how drastically they can change, like the diversity.
So 7th grade when you came,
were
you like, I can't wait to come back? Like I know you told me before, like, oh yeah, I had this field trip 7th grade or whatever.
Yeah.
How much did you do then? And like, was it as early as 7th grade that you knew I want to be in New York? Or were you still shoving crawfish in your mouth? Like, I don't care to be here.
No. I actually did. Yeah. We came with it was like a school trip, you know, like the school trip, like, y'all, we're going to New York City for this summer. Who wants to come? And then
and that was you.
That was me. I was like, I do. And so my dad, this is fun. This tells you how Louisiana I was at that time. For my fundraiser, you know, to raise money to go on the trip, I said, I'm going to do a raffle. And have you heard of Bayou Country Superfest?
No one's heard of Bayou Country Superfest.
I don't know about that. Well, so it's this big, it's like Coachella for like swamp people. It's like
swamp Coachella.
Yeah, it's only like, you know, Eminem's not there. You know, no one's there that's not supposed to be there, and by that I mean only country.
Is it what's the guy's name? Troy? Chudum.
Yeah,
is that him?
Exactly.
Yeah,
I don't know about, but I know that saying, but I don't know the name.
Okay, wow.
Is that swamp people?
He's a swamp
Chudum.
person. Yeah, Chudum. Yeah,
and then you have Doug Dynasty. So but I mean, anyway, Bayou Country Superfest is just like it's kind of what it's in the bayou. Normally happens in Baton Rouge, I think, and it's just a big, huge country music festival. So it's like all the top heavy hitters. Anyway, so I was like, oh, I know what I'm gonna do to go to New York. I'm gonna buy these tickets. And I mean, my dad bought the tickets.
Yeah, my dad's gonna buy these.
My
tickets,
dad's gonna buy these tickets.
Honestly.
2 tickets, and then and they're like 200 a piece or something. So I'm already at $500 in the hole basically. So I have to raise at least $500 to break even. So I was like, I'm gonna raffle off these tickets. So sell them for like $5-6. So I think what happened is I think I broke even. I sold
Nice.
these. I was like
amazing.
I was like at school. I'm like, hey, like 7th graders, do y'all want to buy my raffle tickets to Bayou Country Superfest?
Yeah.
And I was like, so that was how I ended up going, and it was like a school trip. It was just like a regular old school trip. Never paid my dad back. He ended up, thank you, Dad. He ended up, he was like, well, I didn't raise the money, but he's like, okay, I'll cover, but you're gonna pay me back. And then when we were on the trip, he was like, you don't have to pay me back. And I was like, wow. Yeah.
Because I mean, I'm sure you were like, okay, Dad, this is how I'm gonna pay you back. In a few weeks, there's going to be a festival for alligator catchers, and I'm going to actually buy tickets to that.
It's an alligator wrestling competition.
Yeah. And so I'll make enough money to pay you. He's like, you know what? Just don't even worry about it, because then you're going to owe me even more.
Gas money.
Yeah. So don't even worry about it.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, thanks, Dad. But so I came to New York, and that was when I did we stayed in Times Square. We went to like Broadway shows, like a couple of them. We just toured Manhattan. Went to Battery Park. Went to the 9/11 museum. Wasn't even open. It was like they were still had the base of the building built.
Yeah.
So you couldn't really do anything at the 9/11 museum or anything. But yeah, just
cool.
did all the tour stuff, and that's all I cared. I remember being like, we had free time after. It was like one of those really intense tours where, they had everything planned out until 9 p.m. And then they're like, all right, you're free. And I'm like, literally from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. And then, so a lot of my friends we'd get back to the hotel and they're like, all right, we're going out. We're going to M&M store.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't feel my feet. My legs hurt. It's the first time, so.
I've walked more in one day than I have in 6 months.
Or my life, probably in Louisiana. So that was like my experience. I was kind of like, this was cool, but like, it was very busy. It didn't feel like a vacation, which I tell people that, like, if you're going on a vacation, don't go to New York City to be like, I'm going to go just decompress. Like, this ain't the city to do that. So
you're going to recompress.
You're going to, So that's kind of, and then didn't even think about New York City until college when I went on that first trip. And
that's really cool.
Boom, set the trajectory.
Yeah. So my story is kind of the opposite of that.
Yeah.
From a very young age, like, I can remember even like 4 or 5 years old, just being obsessed with a lot of different aspects of New York City, the culture, the history, the buildings. Like, I really nerd out on like architectural stuff. And so I really enjoy reading about like how buildings were built and the history behind that, especially bridges. So anyway, I always wanted to just be in New York. As a kid, my family, we didn't have a ton of money, but looking back, I realized we had a lot more money than I thought. It's just we spent it all on like travel baseball and like competitive gymnastics.
Yeah, for those who don't know, Austin's basically, I mean, he could have gone to the MLB if he was in high school. Did you play in college?
Yeah, so I played for a semester in college. There was some kind of riff-raff between myself and the coach, and then he left, and like the most amazing coach ever, who's still at the university, got there like the next year. And everybody's like, come back. But just my mentality, it was already gone. Like, I'd already stopped playing baseball,
But the fire's still in there.
It's still there. Yeah.
So anyway, sorry.
But yeah, so I always wanted to be in New York, never had the money. In college, Haley and I took a trip and visited.
So wait, before you keep going, why, what was the first thing that like made you like New York? Like, was it just like reading about it or seeing on the TV?
Yeah, I think just reading about it. It was, I don't really know what it was. I mean, looking back now, I know it was like a Holy Spirit God thing, just giving me like this connection to a city that I'd never even been to. Because I remember the first time I actually came to New York and stepping off the plane at Old LaGuardia, which is
that's like I said this when we got off of LaGuardia. LaGuardia is a brand new airport, pretty much. By the way, if anyone needs to know, but it used to be like you felt like you were getting booked into Rikers Island.
Yeah,
when you got off.
it was bad. No, and like if you've ever like, especially for people who aren't in like an urban context, if you've ever driven like through an old town and then you just got to a part of town that's like the old downtown square, and you're like, wow, nobody's been here in like 30 years.
Ages.
That's what it was like, but like with people filing out of the building at LaGuardia. It just literally looked like the building should have been destroyed, 20 years ago, and it was on its last leg. I literally saw pictures of like from the 50s of the same terminal, brand new that we came out of when we first landed. It's wild. So, but even like with that experience, the second I can't explain it, but it was just like I'm home. The second that I stepped foot in New York, we went from LaGuardia straight into Crown Heights, Brooklyn. Which is an awesome neighborhood. This
is when you and Haley came?
Yeah, it's when we came the first time.
What year is this?
2012, I think, was the first year. Maybe 2011. So we go to Crown Heights. Awesome neighborhood.
Why Crown Heights?
That's where our friend lived.
Okay.
Yeah. So we didn't even go to Manhattan, and we're just in this, cab drivers, just crazy, and this is pre like the boom of Uber.
Yeah. Right.
We get to our friend's place, and it's just like normal Brooklyn neighborhood, like nothing crazy special about it, but it is New York. And if people have been to New York, if they know kind of old New York, like they'll know what I'm talking about. And I just thought I want to be here, not because of like the glitz and the glam and the lights,
right? Because you were in Crown Heights,
right? Because I was in Crown Heights. But even so, like I just immediately fell in love, and I was like, this is where I want to live. And so for me, the story was a little bit different. It was like it was love before first sight. Because I just like had heard about.
Is that the title of this episode?
Love before first sight. It's how I felt about New York, and it's how I felt about you.
And ditto.
Honestly, so anyway, so our stories kind of differ, but so living in New York is an experience in and of itself. So let's fast forward. That's a little bit. Obviously, there's a lot more detail.
And that's kind of how we. I mean, we ended up here on a trajectory. Yeah. Fell in love with the city.
Yeah.
Long story short.
Yeah.
We fell in love with the city.
Yeah, absolutely. And so
you either hate it or you love it. That's why I tell people, you come here and you're like, I did that. I don't ever need to do that again. Yeah. That was awesome. Or you're like, I actually need another dose.
Yeah. And it's rare that people love it enough to put up with it.
Right.
That's why I tell people like living in New York is like a relationship, and it's like, it's very much worth it, but it's also a ton of work. And if you're not willing to put in the work, like you will divorce New York at some point, or New York will divorce you, and you're like, wait, what happened?
I didn't sign up for this.
So, so living in New York, what are some quirky, like just, top of mind, like, oh, this is definitely different about living in New York for you? There's a few things that I'm thinking about. One thing that we budgeted before we moved here. I did not budget for how much laundry would cost.
Right.
Because we didn't have like laundry. And so we would take it to the laundromat, and at the time it was just so much going on, and we're still trying to adjust. It just felt insane to use the only time that you have to yourself to do laundry. Yeah. So I was like, I'm just going to drop it off. Yeah. Well, it was literally like $200 a month.
Well, and so talk about dropping up. Like a lot of people have laundromats in their towns and cities. Yeah. But what's cool about New York is, I mean, I'm sure laundromats do this in towns and cities, but not
common.
But it's too expensive in those places. Here, this is still expensive, but it's like more doable. Is you can literally load up your laundry, tie it up in a bag, bring it to the laundromat, and say, "Do this for me," and then leave. Just leave, and they're like, "Okay, it'll be ready this afternoon." Yeah. And it'll be like $25, $20. Yeah. Which is like actually not, I mean, think about it, like what's more valuable, your time or your money?
If you're a single person, I would say dropping off your laundry is easy, no brainer.
Yeah.
Drop it off.
Yeah, you don't have that much laundry because it's by weight. They weigh it.
Right. But like family of 5. So Haley and I made a rule where so we haven't actually dropped off the laundry in a while, but it's like if we do drop it off, we can only do it once a month. Right. Because it's probably like $60.
To get them to do all, and I mean they do a great job.
Of laundry.
They do a great job.
A phenomenal job.
It's tight. They fold it. They put it in they get it somehow in a box. It feels like your clothes are like brand new.
But see, another thing is like Haley has a very specific way that the clothes have to be folded so that they fit into the drawer appropriately. So even when they do the laundry, we have to refold everything. Yeah. So I tried to train them on how Haley. They're like,
can I bring a diagram? It's basically.
I was like, you did this wrong. And they're like, we've been doing this for 30 years. I don't think we did this wrong. Okay.
Yeah. No.
But yeah, so the laundry is definitely.
So
crazy,
that's the quirky thing. Yeah. You didn't plan for that budget.
No, not at all. Item. It's more expensive than I thought it would be. But
yeah, I remember the first time when one of my first summers, I lived here for a summer before I ever lived here. And I remember being like, I didn't know you could even do that. And so I was doing my laundry myself like an idiot. And, and then I was like, wait, I saw somebody they were doing their laundry. And I was like, they're stacking it up. And I was like, yo, how much is that? And they're like, put your clothes on the table. And I was like, okay. And they're like, $15. And I'm like,
you're like,
bye.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was awesome. But yeah, like, so, I don't know, like we're both from like, is Arkansas deep South? That's pretty much deep South. Yeah. We're from the deep South. So yeah, I mean, you're talking like ton of differences, like space wise, you know, people, you don't have yards. There's no grass unless you go to a park. You have to like make a special trip to go see grass.
Yeah. It's like a field trip.
Yeah. It's
hey kids, we're going to go see the grass today.
Yeah. You're like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Even the playgrounds, they have playgrounds in neighborhoods, but they're literally, they're not grass. They're just matted, like flooring and stuff.
Sometimes it's just concrete.
Or concrete, straight up concrete. Yeah. So, I think, you know, me moving here, I mean, you kind of have like, it's kind of, at least I like the relationship analogy, because you're like, I think I dated New York before I committed. Yeah. You know, you're like, I went for the almost a 2-week trip. A year later, I went for the summer, so like an 8 to 10 week.
I think you got to second base with New York and the rat hole that you lived in.
So so finally, I was like, I'm gonna move there. Like, God definitely placed a calling in my heart to, you know, to reach this area, because where we're from, I mean, you're talking like there's a church on every corner. There is, I mean, people know who Jesus is. Like, you say, oh yeah, Jesus died for my sins. Yeah. Like, oh well, why are you not in church? Well, it's just my grandma believed that. That's what I do. You know, it's just cultural. Yeah. You're a Christian. And so, but here it's 3%, but about 3% evangelical people who say, yeah, I actually believe in Jesus, and I'm like obeying him and believing in him. And so,
it's wild.
So that's insane. And out of a city of 9 million people, that's like a lot of people that are not reached. So that was kind of, when I moved here, that was on my heart. That's kind of what propelled me to move and say, I'm going to plant, you know, my life here. Single at the time. You know, no responsibilities. This is the perfect place for you. Yeah. And, but yeah, I mean, it was an adjustment to move here. I mean, I had a $500 a month apartment, which don't think that you're going to get that. That doesn't happen.
Well, that even came with the cost.
It did come with the cost.
It wasn't like, you know, it wasn't like, oh, $500 and you were living in like
you were living in the
luxury.
penthouse.
Yeah, no. Yeah. It came with a cost. Like when you, so the first time I came over to where you lived, you're like, yeah, bro, this is the address. And I was like ringing the doorbell. I was like, I'm here. I was like, oh, no. It's in the back. Like you have to go through the building in the front. Yeah. And there was a mission team there, and you were like reaching into what was your apartment. And I thought it was an outdoor shed. Like you were pulling things. I was like, I asked somebody, I said, how big is this shed? And they said, that's his apartment. I was like, Lord.
So most people, like you open the apartment door, and it's like you're in the building, right? And you follow up, you're either on the second, third, fourth, fifth floor, and you just, you know, you go up to the apartment.
Not Hunter's apartment.
No, not me. So no. I lived, that was my address, but you can go through the main building, out the back, and then they had a separate little building.
It was a shack.
It was a shack.
Well, it was,
and I wouldn't want to sound unappreciative, because Danny, the pastor I was working with, he hooked us up. It was his father-in-law who actually, their church owned this little spot, and it's like a missionary house.
Well, and it like what you said, it was so pivotal for what it was, which is a space that you needed to live in. It was just, especially for us not being like, now we would look at that and be like, sick deal.
Right.
Who cares if there's rats?
You're like, single. Who cares?
And I think you looked at it that way too. It's just funny to look back now, like where you ended up living for a while, like where you live now. And for me, it was just shocking, because I didn't think like, oh, this could be a place where someone lives, you know? And I remember thinking, because it wasn't actually a shack. It just kind of appeared that way on the outside.
Once you get in, it was like a little apartment.
It was like the basement of another building almost.
Right. It was like garden level. It was, you know, no natural light.
And I remember we were making plans like, dude, you could like build this out like as a front porch. Oh, yeah. Like, you put a recording studio in here.
I cleaned it up. Like, I cleaned up that porch because I was like, I'm going to try to make this as livable as possible. Yeah. You know, I bought some carpet, like some, you know, rugs.
And it was super awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. But it was, I mean, it was worth $500. And they labeled it as a missionary house. So, you know, missionaries, you're called to suffer. So, I mean, in a way, they didn't sell me short.
Like literally missionaries living in tents around
in
the
Africa,
world. And you're like, oh, this doesn't even have a doorbell, you know?
Yeah. It's like, well, running water, electricity, heater, AC. Yeah. Like, still not good enough.
And all the friends that you could ever want. Yeah,
it was rat infested on the outside, because where they put all the trash in my foyer, if you will. So when
the doorman was like dancing around.
Yeah, so it was. I would always, especially at night in New York City, rats come out at night. I mean, sometimes in the day now. I mean, they're crazy. They're hybrids. They're really
breeding.
Yeah. And and so at night I would just close my eyes, open it, and run straight to my door, and hurry up and lock it, and I would hear them, and I would just say, nope, focus on the truth. God is for you. Who can be against you?
It's funny because we were walking down the sidewalk, and just yesterday it was like nighttime, and you're like,
I'm traumatized.
And I was like, why is he so freaked out by a rat? And I was like, oh, I forgot. Like, he used to sleep with those things.
Yeah, I mean, it's just they're all over this place. Let's talk about New York City as it's a global city, right? I mean, you talking about Tokyo, London, Los Angeles, Chicago.
I was really
New York City.
waiting for you to run out of. It's a global. You're talking about Tokyo and other places,
and Japan.
But I was impressed. Like you got several major cities there.
Yeah.
Nice.
But so whenever you think of a city like that, you're like, oh, like they got it going on.
Yeah.
But some, and it does. There's unlimited. We were talking. There's like anything you want to eat, anything you want to do, see, smell.
Yeah.
For better or for worse.
Yeah.
But when you think about going to a city like this, you kind of have in your mind a way it's supposed to look and like be, and it's just a lot of times doesn't measure up in the sense of like we literally put trash out on the street. You know how like in rural areas the garbage truck just comes and you put the can out and they dump the can and no, literally you're supposed to put the bag. You grab your bags or your trash can, mainly your bags though, and you're just stacking bags of trash up on the street on your trash day.
Yeah.
And that's what makes the rats come out. It's a dirty city. Like let's be real.
It really
is. A dirty city. And
one of the reasons why I tolerate the winter is because it smells so much better.
Right.
Like
the summer heat.
People are like, oh, it's so cold out here. And I'm like, well, actually here they'd be like, man, it's brick out here. You know?
Mad brick.
I'm like, I don't care. Like, at least it doesn't smell like filth. You know, because it's like this crispness in the air, you know?
Did you say Christmas?
Crisp.
Oh,
crispness.
I was like, also Christmas.
Crispness in the air. Yeah, Christmas is awesome. You would.
I love Christmas.
But yeah, so what about New York in the pandemic? Because you mentioned like, oh yeah, 2019. Mm-hmm. You got here, you got a little taste of New York.
Yeah.
Then the pandemic hit, completely different. You should share the story of us at Bad Old Days.
With the peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah, the peanut butter and jellies.
Dude.
Actually, let me set you up.
Yeah, set me up.
And then you come in hot
talk
with
about the first few weeks leading into the pandemic and then kind of what that was like.
So for me, the first few weeks was crazy. One, because I had a friend in Beijing in November of 2019 tell me, November, December, somewhere around there, hey, Chinese New Year's coming up. There's this thing over here called the coronavirus. Like, we don't know how bad it's going to be, but it's bad over here. There's people traveling, so make sure that you try not to travel if you can help it, because there's going to be a lot of Chinese people traveling for Chinese New Year, and it's right when,
everything was starting to spread.
Breaking out, yeah. So anyway, fast forward several months later, I mean, I can remember in February, beginning of February, sitting in a hospital because Haley was pregnant with Hunter. And them saying like, yeah, coronavirus, we don't know how much this is going to affect everything. I forgot
she was about to have
we don't know how much this is going to affect everything, but rest assured, like, we'll have everything figured out.
Yeah.
They didn't have everything figured out. They didn't know. And I was sitting there thinking like, this is, me. I'm like, this isn't going to be a thing. Like, it's going to be fine. Even if it happens, it'll be fine. So fast forward, the first couple of weeks were crazy because the city was just dead. We did this thing called New York on Pause. I've got this really cool, album of pictures that Haley took, and we'll post that somewhere for people to see. But like all these, like the Bull, Times Square, entrance to Central Park, like all these places where you're just used to seeing people pour
Tons
out
of people,
there was literally not one soul.
That was, I remember that.
Yeah, so it was kind of like this apocalyptic end of the world
Doom.
type scenery, and then Haley goes into labor. And so, like, I was getting scanned every single time I left her room. I wasn't allowed to leave the hospital. I almost wasn't allowed to even be there with her.
In the room.
We have friends who gave birth to their children, and their husband couldn't be in the room.
Yeah. It depended on at what point in the pandemic. Because the rules were changing like every 2 weeks.
Yeah, so I mean, I want to give NYU their credit because they never took away the support person, even at any point in time, and that's why we could do it because we technically had Hunter at a span where other hospitals were saying, no, you can't be in here.
April 2020.
Then the health department came out with a statement and said, if you don't allow a support person to be in the room with someone who's giving birth, then you are in violation of a health code. And so all the hospitals were like, oh, shoot, how many? Get in here, support person, hurry. Yeah. And so it was wild for us. But so you lead into this, and it was just kind of setting the scene for the end of the world type feel. And then you had a lot of like, you know, call it what you will. People will land on a ton of different sides of this story, but kind of like almost political propaganda.
Right.
That was like, it wasn't just you should choose to do this because it's the right thing. The message was, if you don't do this,
comply.
You're killing people.
Comply or yeah.
And so, you know, it was a very tumultuous, difficult time.
Yeah.
In the city. And then amongst this, like a lot of things shut down. And one of the things that shut down were like entertainment venues and bars. Like if you were just a bar, you couldn't be open.
Right. You're just serving drinks. You can't.
But if you served food, then you could be open.
Right, because they were allowing takeaway. Like you could they finally, because they were about to single-handedly, the government in New York was about to single-handedly wipe out the restaurant industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
In New York City, because guess what? It's a volume business. You have to make sales or you're going to go under. People have loans.
Yeah.
And so that was their solution. It said, okay, you can open as a restaurant, figure out how to do takeout, figure out how to do Grubhub or whatever.
Yeah. Which cuts into your profit too. But
yeah.
Anyway, so we decided at one point we're like, at this time there was just nowhere to go and be with your friends. Mm-hmm. And you know, when you're married and you
could go to the park, but they're still like, hey, 6 feet, please.
Yeah. Well, and even like, you know, I always told people that we went into the pandemic with the worst starting five in the history of ever, because it was me and Haley, a newborn, a 2-year-old, and a 4-year-old.
Yeah. Sounds easy.
Yeah, it was in a 650 square foot apartment, right? And so there were times where like we just needed to get away, but you couldn't get away. You couldn't just go hang out like you normally would until kind of like a little into the pandemic. These bars started opening
months,
for like
4 or 5 months.
So there's this bar down the street, and I remember it was just like a particularly like frustrating week, and I was like, dude, we need to go hang out. Like I need to talk to you a little bit. And you're like, okay. So we go to this bar down the block, and we'll I don't know. I guess I named it.
We could say it.
Yeah, it's Bad Old Days.
They're a great bar.
It's a great bar. So
Bad Old Days in Ridgewood.
Yeah. So we decided like, hey, we're gonna go to this bar. You know, we'll get one drink, talk about what's going on, and then you know,
just hang out.
Hang out.
It was like, and at this point, you know, you couldn't go. It was like magical to go into a place and sit down in a booth.
When I don't even know if they're doing the inside because they still had the out. We sat outside.
Oh yes, that's right. You couldn't sit inside, but they had outside seating.
So one of the things they were doing, and I didn't even know that this was happening until later, but they were giving PB&J sandwiches to people who ordered drinks so that they could technically be a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't charging you. But there are also some bars that I've seen that'll do like free popcorn with a drink or a free hot dog, right? So they give us this PB&J, and I'm like, oh boy, free PB&J.
You like order your drink, and you're like, okay, like feel free, like guys, just take a PB&J. And it was like a formality, because it's like, please grab it, because otherwise we're only serving you drinks, and that's actually illegal right now.
Right. And so, like thinking back on it, like scanning the room or the outside with my mind, no one was eating these PB&Js, and we are scarfing them down. Right?
No, it was like I was thrilled.
Yeah,
So peanut butter and jelly.
So you pick up here. So that's the scenario.
That's the setup to this. Yeah. So basically, I'm a foodie at heart. People who know me know this. Like, my wife Madeline, we joke back and forth because she's like, it's just food. Like she'll be like, it's chicken. That's good. And I'm like, you're not being loud enough. Like, where's the dance?
When you eat food,
comment below if you're a foodie.
the sounds that you make when you eat food.
There's something wrong. Yeah. But it's an experience, like for me. And I mean, whatever. If you're
it's almost spiritual.
It is. If that's not your thing, whatever, man. But for me, I'm like, and you know what it's like? You know what I'm thinking about now? Just literally on the spot in my head. Is the peanut butter and jelly thing at the bar is kind of like when you go to the dock and you're like, oh my gosh, there's a sucker.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't even eat suckers, but I'm pumped because it's like, I want one.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to not take one. And so that was kind of the vibe I had. But they were like, they weren't even they were rollovers like Mama used to make,
like Mama used to make.
They're like, oh, it's a rollover? Like, absolutely.
It's because they were conserving bread because they were not intending on people eating
They didn't want to make a full sandwich. They're like, we can make double with the one loaf of bread. So I was like, absolutely, I'll take one. And Austin's like, okay. Like Austin was like just actually normal about it. You're normal about it. You're like, yeah, this is good.
Sure, yeah.
But so I'm like,
we sit down and the first thing you do is like,
I'm like, I've never like.
Is there a Ziploc bag?
You know how pizza like you get pizza and beer, like that's a good combo. It's like peanut butter and jelly sandwich and a beer is not good combo. No. But I was like, this is great. I love this. What it's free. So I'm like, like just devouring the rollover.
And I was kind of like,
Yeah, he's like, I mean, I guess I'll eat it, whatever. But so we're talking. We have our, our bro night. And so we go to close out the tab, and we go in and we're closing out the tab, and then, she's like,
PB&J in our beer.
Yeah, we're like, oh, that was so good.
Thank you.
And then she's like, do you want another drink? I was like, no, can I, what about, do you have any more food? Like, what else do you have back there? But anyway, so I leave, and Austin's like, dude, that was, and I was like raving about the peanut butter jelly. He's like, that was actually pretty good peanut butter jelly. I was like, check it out. I pulled out my pocket. I had like three of the rollovers.
Because they were free.
They had it in a basket, like a big basket.
So I was like signing the check and stuff. And apparently while I was doing that, he was just literally shoveling these PB&J rolls.
Never miss a good opportunity.
And like, I've never seen someone so excited. Bro,
yeah.
Look what I came away with.
It was like opening it's like if you opened up a jacket and you're like
trench coat of like watches.
Yeah,
like, hey,
check this out.
Check it. This is the inventory that I pull away with.
And you were just like so disappointed in me. You're like, bro, what? I was like, dude, they're free. Peanut butter and jelly.
And like, so now looking back, I like how disappointed must they have been when they looked into this basket and they're like, those idiots.
Well, okay, so and then you found out later, like because we didn't know any of this, but like basically people would take the peanut butter and jelly. They would have their drinks, and then they would just bring it back and be like, yeah, whatever. And they put it back in the basket. So in theory, I could have eaten like days old peanut butter and jelly.
Right. No telling how
how many hands that touched
that had been passed
back.
Ironically,
during
people.
COVID.
Yeah, but we're still alive.
Yeah. So that's the PB&J story. Like never miss out. Like I guess lesson learned. Never miss out on a good opportunity to eat a peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you a grape guy or a strawberry? Grape, strawberry jelly.
I think I like grape.
Yeah, I'm a grape.
I mean, I can eat. I'm not real picky. You know what I mean? It's like as long as there's not pickles on it, and even if it has pickles on it, like now that I'm older,
Austin hates pickles.
Yeah, now that I'm older, like I'll eat it. Like when Popeyes first dropped their sandwich, and then
that was in the middle of COVID too.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
That's why it was such a big sensation because no one had anything else to do.
Yeah. So Popeyes dropped their sandwich. All these other chicken sandwich companies like followed suit. Yeah. And then, well, I guess not. They're just chicken companies. But KFC dropped one, and I had a friend review it, and he was like, "You have to eat it with the pickles. Like that's how it's intended to be eaten." And I was
you're
"Okay."
Avidly against pickles,
right? But I ate it, and it was fine. Like I didn't die. But
it
still wasn't my favorite. But I was like, if this is sandwich art, like I'm not gonna erase some of the art. I'm gonna just experience all of it. But yeah, that was listen. There was a time in our country where a fast food restaurant dropped a chicken sandwich, and it was like trying to get a PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
Like
sorry, we're out.
I don't know how it was across the country, but in New York City, the lines were literally people were standing in line for 2+ hours.
Especially Popeyes. Like Popeyes here.
Get the chicken sandwich. Yeah.
And I remember they ran out. Like they'd be like, we're out. Like, have you ever been to a fast food restaurant? They're like, we're sorry, we're out of that. That never, I mean, other than McDonald's and ice cream. But like, otherwise, like it's a chicken company. You don't run out of chicken.
What do you mean you're out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was crazy. I remember that. Yeah, man. That was really like TikTok was still blowing up, and like it was like a big thing on TikTok. Yeah. But
so you're back in the city.
Yeah. So me and Madeline are just visiting.
Visiting. You're not living here.
Well, don't rub it in.
Yeah. You're just visiting. Yeah. You'll be gone tomorrow.
I'm flying out tomorrow.
But what's it like now? Kind of like. I mean, you were still living here kind of as we were transitioning out of, the pandemic rules.
Ironically, a lot of people left during the pandemic. They're like, yeah, screw this city. I'm out.
Yeah.
And ironically, I waited till through the entire pandemic and we were on the up and up. And I was like, okay, bye.
All right, I'll see you later.
No,
I just wanted to prove that I could do it.
I weathered, and they're like, oh, because of COVID? No.
Nope.
No, I mean, a lot of the reason we moved was when we were having a baby. We did, and that's kind of scary, which not for you, apparently, because you have 3 of them, and you're just like, let's pop those suckers out here.
Haley won't let me have them.
No, but y'all do. I mean, so for us, I was like, first kid, we just got married. It was a lot at the time that in that season that we were just kind of like, I think the best thing right now is just go home. But yeah, New York City is home, like straight up. Like I come here and I feel at home, just like I go back home. And so it's always got that place in our heart. But yeah, we're visiting. We try to go every like 4 months. I do, because if not, people and back in Sulphur, they'll tell you like he's getting angry, like he's being more on edge lately, and I just think it's time to go back. I think you need to go back to New York because we don't know what's wrong with you. I'm like, oh, you're up. It has been 6 months, But yeah, we're visiting, hanging out.
Awesome.
What was your question?
Oh, I just is it different now? Like
compared
because now we're like
you're fully through
transition.
Yeah. Because when I left, I mean, they were still a little bit like making restaurants. I worked in the coffee industry here, And at our coffee shop, you had to prove that you were vaccinated. Yeah. I mean, and every restaurant in New York, even kids as young as 5 years old. And so that was a different administration too. Now there's a new mayor of New York. Mm-hmm. But at that time when I was left, and again, it was political. Like a lot of that stuff is like, that the science keeps giving out you new data and stuff. And I'm sure Spotify or whatever's going to flag this because we're talking about COVID. Like, check out the rules, Yeah. He's, whatever. But he's
not an expert. Can we just put that out there?
Yeah, I'm not an expert.
Not an expert. I mean, in any COVID-19.
Anthony Fauci, me. Yeah. I can't even see my hand. But anyway, all that to say, it was very different because it was like, it was so awkward on the service industry because you're like having to be like, regardless of whatever you thought about everything, it was just like, hey, I need to see proof of vaccination.
Yeah.
Because that like they had literally, oh dude, this is an interesting story about this. This will tell you how like intense it was at one point. I think I've told you this before. But when I was working at the coffee shop, what they did to enforce, because how is New York City government going to enforce restaurants to, are they actually making customers present their vaccination record?
Right.
Because like otherwise you can say that's a rule, but it's like, as a restaurant owner or like as a coffee shop owner, what incentive do I have to do that? Like I'm just gonna
you're turning business away.
You're turning business away, and you're making yourself political on some views where you're like not even trying to be, but you're forced to by the government. Anyway,
right.
So I remember that they were like, we had a team meeting with our coffee team, and they're like, hey guys, our manager was like, they're gonna be sending out people on the COVID task force that are gonna be making sure that we're actually asking. And I've been like, okay, yeah, that's what the government's going to tell you so that you actually do it.
Yeah. How many cities do you think had a COVID task force? That like even just, hey, CTF, they're coming in hot.
Dude, no, like, so one day, I mean, they told us like, make sure you're asking for everybody's and not only that they had a vaccine, but you had to match their ID. We need to see your ID and the vaccination card. And so I remember one day, I was working at the shop and I saw these two people sitting in the corner. They were like by the door, but people
they had black suits on.
They did. They had like FBI jackets on. It looked like, and they had like a lanyard. But I didn't even notice they were so far away, and it's busy. I'm not really paying attention, but you know your environment. And so
this was the Irving place.
This was at Irving Farm, near Washington Square Park.
Oh, you're Washington Square Park location.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So that's a very busy location.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people, when you go to a coffee shop, if you're waiting on a friend or something, you're not going to order. You're going to wait. Just hang out and wait for your friend to get there. So that's kind of in my head. I didn't really pay attention. So we were busting through the line, and at some point, like we didn't ask for a couple people's vaccination cards because we're just trying. It takes too much time. We're trying to pump through the line. These two people like make our way to the bar, and they're like, "Hi, we're with the," and they just like flash their ID, like we're with the COVID task force. It's like, and we had to make sure we had this binder with all the protocols and make sure we're logging everything. So like, we need to see y'all's binder. Okay, luckily we had that. And they're like, "Okay, so we watched you. You didn't ask for two people's vaccination records," and we're like, oh my God, are we closed?
We're gonna die.
Are we? And they're like, we're not gonna. It was a ticket. It was basically you get a fine, $500 fine per instance is what the.
So they
didn't.
Okay.
But they said,
wow.
Hey, next time, I just want you, we are watching. Just make sure you please make sure you're getting. Is that crazy?
Yeah.
So that was at that height. So that was the height of it. That's the
equivalent of getting pulled over, speeding, and crying. And
they're like, we're gonna let you go this time.
We're gonna let you go. Yeah.
But anyway, so think about that, however you want to make your opinions about that. I think it was over the top. Yeah. And I think it was just to show face, and they didn't actually believe a lot of the stuff they were saying. But
right.
And not to say, I mean, I'm wearing masks. Like, we're being safe. Like, I believe in all that stuff. But I was just saying, at that point, especially in New York City, it was just so much. And it was like, at that point, people were tired. And they're like, let's just get through this. But yeah,
I think Irving Farm did a really good job, and that's why you liked working with them so much. They did a really good job, even at a time in the city where it was basically anti-community. Like you couldn't build community because you couldn't be in the same place.
You couldn't be together.
They did a really good job of both following the rules that the city had set in place, and also not taking away from their customer experience.
Yeah.
I still go to Irving Farm because of that, because of the relationship that you had. I love their coffee. Obviously,
great coffee. IrvingFarm.com. Check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, let's talk about a few, like, if we were to list, top coffee spots in New York.
We are coffee people.
Yeah. So I'll go. That's one thing about New York.
Dude, look at your shirt. Show me your shirt.
Oh yeah.
Or your hoodie.
Drink good coffee. This is Hunter wore my merch on episode 1, I think. Yeah. And so now I'm wearing his. This is Mesa Coffee.
Unplanned.
Yeah. So one thing that people may or may not realize about New York is it's a great coffee scene.
It's a hub.
It's only getting better.
Yeah.
It's only getting better.
I mean, people think of Seattle.
Yeah.
Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
The Pacific Northwest in general. But,
right. Yeah, no, New York is definitely
New York's a
on the
coffee
list.
hub.
So my favorite spot is Black Fox.
Yep.
It's near Battery Park, downtown Manhattan. Phenomenal. Just great atmosphere.
Yeah.
They're super nice. I don't know if I've ever been in there and thought like, wow,
that was amazing
they are
customer service.
building community in here. Because I don't know if that's like specifically their mission, but they have some phenomenal coffee. It just tastes so, and they're super nice.
When was the first time? What was your first experience with Black Fox?
I think like maybe 2018, 2019.
Is that when you're like,
Pre-pandemic?
this is so good? What did you have? Do you remember?
Oh, I had a pour over. I can't remember where it was from, but they have like a lot of
single origin.
You go like some places and they're like, oh, the pour over that we have today is, or you have two. Like no, they have like 5, 6, 7 choices. They have some that are like so rare that it's like a $20 pour over.
Yeah.
Like it's very specialty.
Yeah.
So I love that place. Probably second would be Devotion in
Oh, yeah,
Williamsburg.
that's good.
I just
Yeah.
love the atmosphere. It's like really cool. I like Blue Bottle.
Blue Bottle, that's a classic.
They're starting to become a little more like almost franchised.
Yeah.
because-
Well, Nestle bought them, right?
Yeah. So they're kind of popping up everywhere. But still great coffee, great atmosphere. I love Kinship. It's here in Astoria.
That's a local, super local.
Great spot. And I'd say Irving Farm. It definitely makes top 5 easily. But yeah, those are I don't know if that's a specific order.
A lot of those places have multiple locations. I think everyone does Black Fox roast their own coffee?
I don't know.
Okay. Because most of those people that you named they roast their own.
Yeah, they do. I honorable mention, I'd say Black Press on the Upper West Side is really good. I enjoy going there.
Yeah, I've been there once or twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I would say, and there's so many coffee companies in the city that this is top 5 of
Think
what
coffee. I didn't
think.
Yeah, that's
there's so many.
definitely-
There's so many that I haven't tried. I mean, there's definitely way more coffee companies than I've tried.
Yeah.
But I would say, and you can think about like based on like quality of service or coffee, like how an average of those things.
Yeah.
I would say, number 1. I think Coffee might be my number 1 just because, and I know I worked at Irving Farm, but just because they do have a little bit, they're a values-based company.
Yeah.
So the reason that their name Think is because they want you to think about what you're drinking. And a lot of most of certain coffees that they roast and their sales go to support like water wells and like girls in underdeveloped countries and closed countries, all stuff. So they're very like philanthropic, I guess to say. And they do have a good they grasp of like coffee as a people. Coffee business is a people business. So like seeing every person that walks through the door, and their coffee's really good. And they've been roasting in New York forever. They roast here in Brooklyn. Yeah. We used them for Mesa when I had the coffee cart business that here, and they were just great to work with. Great
Phenomenal.
people. They were really nice, patient and stuff.
We're definitely spoiled when it comes to coffee, the coffee culture and scene. But also, like, I think you endeared yourself as like a very good worker, like very high capacity. And so like even just the network of people that you've built like a relationship with in the coffee world. Yeah. Is one that we've been able to take advantage of, like not in a negative way, but just like
it's good
they
to know
are
those
willingly platforming other coffee companies. Yeah. And so a lot of people who might be familiar with like the church planting model of like larger churches really pouring into smaller churches and helping them plant. A lot of these companies that have been doing it for a while, perfected it, are really good at it. They use their own resources to help platform
new coffee,
other coffee places. So it's just really cool. I really enjoy working with like Think Coffee. I enjoyed when you worked at Irving Farm and kind of being in there, that atmosphere. We're just definitely spoiled.
It's like my favorite. It took me a while to figure out my niche of like, what do I want to do? Like I've done so many things. Teaching, banking, just all over the map, lawyer stuff. Yeah. But I really think I found like my own niche here with coffee because it's I just love the community that it builds, and everyone's like you said, these companies, they've been existing for 20 plus years. They're one of the biggest coffee companies in New York City, and they're like, yeah, we'll teach you, we'll train you for free.
Yeah.
And they're like, we'll help you get started, like send business your way. So that was like really cool. It's a very communal, thing. So I'd say number 2, Irving Farm.
Yeah.
3, man, on the spot.
It's hard. Yeah.
I know.
It's difficult. I did better than you're doing, but it is hard.
How you did. Stumptown. Stumptown's here, but they're all over. Like,
yeah, of course. Yeah.
I love Stumptown. Birch. Birch is great because I like the people. They're people-centered too.
Yeah, yeah. Which is funny that you say that because we had it's not indicative of their company. It was like during pandemic, it was kind of awkward time, but we had someone who worked at Birch and did not have a good experience.
Oh, she didn't work there? Oh, I didn't know that.
She worked there.
I mean, I know she worked there, but I didn't know she
worked there.
Bad experience.
And the experience while she was working there was phenomenal. It was kind of they had laid some people off during the pandemic.
Yeah, that's right.
There was like a huge lack of communication on how they were bringing people back.
Yeah.
Obviously, very.
It's important. It doesn't matter.
Situation.
A coffee company. It doesn't matter how well you treat your customers. If you don't treat your team equally,
right. and everything, like when she was there, like they're phenomenal. Like that's why even after that experience, she was like, I'm like, all boycott Birch. She's like, no, they're amazing.
No,
and I'm like,
good.
no, what are you talking about?
Like I remember her saying she like something they would do is you could grab a card, especially to foster community. You could grab a card that everyone kind of knew what is this card when and set it on your table. And if you set that card on your table, it kind of was like a sign to say, hey, let's have a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And if another person saw you with that card and said, hey, I also want to meet a stranger or have a conversation, that was really cool.
They are very cool. And another thing is, they don't do Wi-Fi, which is a bold move. A bold move rather for
Irving Farm too.
For a coffee shop. Like,
to
hey,
not offer Wi-Fi.
You can come, you can hang out, but we want to foster like conversation with actual humans, and also like. That's why I'm sure, but it helps with turnover too, which is never a bad thing in a coffee shop.
If you're small, I mean, it's like in New York City, space is commodity. So if you have like 7 tables in the place, you don't want 7 people just to stay at the entire day and buy one coffee.
Yeah.
And then Kinship probably 5. I like Kinship's amazing.
Awesome. Yeah.
And they're also a people-based company. And
Kinship has my favorite cup of coffee.
They're great. They just started roasting a year and a half ago.
Yeah, they've got a great space, but the cold brew,
the maple cold brew,
dude.
Ugh.
It's like,
what else? Do you put a milk in it? Do you put like oat milk or something?
Sometimes I do oat milk, sometimes I do regular milk, but
good.
The way that they do it, like in-house.
Can you tell? Is it weird if you tell how like the order that they make it? Didn't you watch them how they did it a certain way that they shake it or something?
Yeah. So that's one of the special things that they do. I'm not sure about the order. Maybe some of them do it a little bit different.
Method of
making. They basically have the cold brew and they have the oat milk and they have the maple syrup.
Yeah.
They put it all in a shaker. Mm-hmm. And they shake it, so there's no like.
It's really cold.
Yeah, it's super cold. First of all, their cold brew is phenomenal. So the base of what they're doing.
You can buy their concentrate. I think they sell their cold brew in jugs and stuff.
Yeah, they were doing like cold brew delivery during like old school milkman style.
Yeah, that's what
during
you're telling
COVID.
Me, yeah.
That's how they survived. Their owners are just really creative and both very awesome. But so this cold brew, I love how this is turned into a coffee episode.
That's okay.
But it's okay because
New
York
is coffee. It's New York based.
Yeah. So their cold brew is the base for this drink, and they have the best cold brew I've ever tasted. It's very strong, but it's not like an off-putting, like sometimes like too strong coffee taste. It tastes like a really, really strong tea.
Yeah.
That is coffee.
Yeah. It's a little bit lighter.
It has a great taste. So that's the base. And then they're shaking it with this amazing maple syrup, which I don't even know where they get it from.
I think it's a pure maple. It's like a pure maple syrup of some sort.
I don't know. Like they have it like come in from upstate New York or something.
Yeah,
like
probably.
They send their baristas to tap the tree and come back with it. It's phenomenal. And then what
not
they do,
cost effective for labor, but
no, it creates this amazing drink. So they put the oat milk in, they shake it all up, they pour it into your cup, and then they sprinkle just a little bit of cinnamon on the top.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, so good.
It's the best coffee drink, in my opinion, in the city. If you're looking for like taste, if you're looking like the full on quality of the specialty coffee, and you could probably make some other arguments, but this one tastes better than any other coffee that I've had. So
I think we might have to get it. We're in Astoria.
Yeah,
so
we're definitely gonna swing by and get some. Yeah, obviously.
But yeah, that's a coffee. That's part of our story. My story in New York.
I would say like one thing that people really, really don't know about New York is they just focus so much on Manhattan. They don't realize like how much New York is, first of all, it's massive.
Yeah.
And they don't realize like how, like our friend Danny, he's grown up in Bushwick.
Yeah.
He's like, dude, why would you go anywhere else? Like Bushwick have everything.
Yeah, the post office,
and
Blue
like,
Bazaar.
He's not lying either.
Yeah,
because one time I was like, he's like, dude, have you been to the Bushwick Circus? A singular neighborhood, and not a borough, a singular neighborhood in New York City has its own circus. Like,
talk about how New York City's broken up really quick, just so they can understand, like, as far as the hierarchy of like, because in other places you have like the state, then you have the county,
and
then you have a town or city. Yeah, basically.
Yeah, so this is like you have
different here.
Yeah, New York State, and then you have Metro New York.
Yeah.
Then you have New York City.
Yeah.
Then you have the 5 boroughs. Then you have neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Then you have
that.
blocks.
Imagine that like a tree, like a tree that just gets.
Yeah.
So you have New York State, which New York City, most of the population, or at least half, but I think most of the population of New York State is in New York City. It's 9 million people.
Yeah.
And then you have 5 boroughs underneath, and then it's a neighborhood thing.
Yeah, in those boroughs you have neighborhoods, and in those
borough
neighborhoods
has a neighborhood.
you have blocks, right? And every single block is basically self-sustaining. So
Right.
if you walk out of my front door, to your right on the corner, there's a bodega that has groceries.
Yeah.
You could literally get everything that you would need to live at that bodega. Across the street is a barber shop where I get my hair cut. Next door to the bodega is a laundromat.
Yep.
There are 3 restaurants on the corner. There are also several other bodegas, but basically, like the people
train
like,
right by you.
Train is literally on our block, which that's not everybody's situation. We're just super fortunate, but maybe 2 or 3 blocks down, there's a mechanic shop. So people are like, "Oh, where do you get your car?" I'm like,
everything is hyper local.
It absolutely,
especially
and so people think of New York as this massive city, and it is. But if you stay on your block for any period of time, you start to build relationships with people on your block, and it's like living in a small town.
Right.
It's like a bunch of small towns.
Pass the same people.
Yeah, a bunch of small towns. If you think of the town as a block, right? A bunch of those small towns stacked together to make a neighborhood, and those neighborhoods stacked together to make a borough. Boroughs, the city. And so it's really cool. Like, a lot of people say, "Oh, I'll never live in New York. I need to know my neighbors." I'm like, well, if you're not weird, like, you probably at some point will know your neighbors. And it's just a different feel than most people think. Now, in Manhattan, especially, like,
different world,
highly
Tale of
commercial
Two
areas.
Cities.
Yeah,
Tale of Two Cities, really.
You would, like, downtown Brooklyn, Long Island City, Manhattan. Those are areas
those
where
feel bigger.
Feel
they
bigger.
Just feel like
You're
a different city.
more transient. Like, you're probably not going to know people
way,
as well there.
way more expensive.
Yeah.
You're talking like double to triple what you're paying in Queens.
Absolutely. And like Ridgewood, the neighborhood that we live in, Haley and I, well, first of all, Haley and I have a knack for picking like the trendy neighborhoods.
And friends.
Because when we moved to New York, we were like, oh, we want to live in Williamsburg. And it was kind of trendy, but it wasn't like what Williamsburg is now.
Williamsburg now is Los Angeles to me.
When we moved there, it blew up.
Yeah.
And so we were like, well, we need to move because now it's way too expensive for us to live here.
Yeah.
And so we were kind of looking at different neighborhoods. Bushwick's awesome. We most of our life is spent in Bushwick, even though we live in Ridgewood.
Haley works there, which is the next neighborhood bordering where you live.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So but we're like a block outside of Bushwick,
right,
on the very edge of Ridgewood. But so anyway, we moved to Ridgewood after we looked at several different places. Just happened to find this really good deal on our house, great view of the city, all that stuff. But Ridgewood is now, it was just voted by Time Out Magazine a couple of months ago, like the 4th trendiest neighborhood in the world.
In the world, not New York City.
Not in New York City, yeah.
The world.
In the world. And so even just that, like, rents have started to skyrocket
going up,
already. Yeah. So I told Haley, I said, where's the next trendy neighborhood? No. One thing I would like to do is also give a shout out to our like manager of our property.
Yeah.
Because
they're taking care of y'all.
It's hard to find people and build relationships with them because it's so transactional.
Yeah.
There is no relationship between like a tenant and a manager typically. But this person has heard our complaints in the past. They fixed stuff pretty appropriately. I mean, as much as you could expect someone to do. And they've also been very understanding of like what the market is. And they, during the pandemic, they kind of heard some concerns that I had about how everything had been, the rents had been lowered and they were able to adjust some things for us. And then also appropriately put the rent back up after our contract from the pandemic. And so, I think a lot of times managers in the city don't get a lot of credit. And maybe they don't deserve it, but ours definitely does.
Yeah. Y'all's building's awesome.
Yeah. We love it. So yeah, cool. Well, anything else you think we want to cover before?
Nah, man, New
York.
York's a hard place to live.
But
it's a relationship. There are opportunities here that you just won't find anywhere else in the world, and so you kind of sacrifice or kind of trade a little bit, and you say, hey, I'll live in a difficult place to live as far as like quality of life sometimes, but there's just going to be way more opportunity that I just couldn't ever have anywhere else, educationally, socially, business wise, whatever it is. So you just have to weigh the cost. But comment below if you have any other thoughts on Q&As on living in New York City. I would highly encourage people to at least visit New
absolutely.
York. It's
Check
a great place
out.
to visit. And leave Manhattan. Please leave Manhattan.
Oh,
you can go to Manhattan.
You guys have been here for how many days?
Yeah, we've been here for 4 days.
And you haven't
We
been
haven't gone to Manhattan.
Yeah.
Like we haven't, I think we're going to go today because Madeline wants to see the park, Central Park and stuff. But
yeah,
we haven't left Queens.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Brooklyn. We did Queens and Brooklyn.
Well, it's like you live in a difficult place, but like you guys got married in Central Park.
Yeah.
Like that's a once in a lifetime opportunity. I mean,
so cool.
A lot of people get married there.
Yeah.
But I mean, not normally if you don't live here, right?
Or in the middle of a pandemic, they don't do it.
That was pretty crazy. I mean, you get to do things like who's the guy that you served at Irving Farm? The actor.
Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, you get to serve like Alec Baldwin. You get
Yeah.
to do things like. I mean, all these are some of these are experiences like going to the Tonight Show and stuff.
Yeah,
that you
going
can
to the
do
Tonight
like
Show.
on a trip. But there's just so many local experiences.
You're like, I have to cook dinner tonight. But wait, someone invited me to go to the Tonight Show, see Jimmy Fallon. Is that okay?
Yeah,
Okay,
sorry. Yeah, I'll be at that. There's Broadway. There's all these things that you can take advantage of.
Definitely be a tourist in your own city. It's hard to. I actually, we didn't do it as much as we probably should have. Like at the end of the day, it's like we hardly left Queens. Once you get into a flow, and once you get your neighborhood, it's like, it's really like, unless you're going to something specific, you're like, I don't really need to go to Manhattan. Like just don't need to go to the city.
Yeah.
But yeah. It was fun. It's fun. I love this city. Is the greatest city in the world, hands down.
Yeah.
Anyone who knows me knows I would say that. So no one's surprised.
I would hope so. Okay, so I would like to wrap up.
Yeah.
What kind of explanation do you have other than like everything going? Like, I need you to explain to me why you would leave me here.
I know.
You just left me.
Let's hold hands while I
Okay,
tell you
one more
this.
time. Yeah.
No. No, man. It's. I mean, me and Madeline. This place has our heart. I mean, this is where we met. Literally, this is where we met. This is where we got engaged, got married here, and then basically started life, together. So it's always been a special place. And I think, it's just been it's one of those things where, do we regret leaving? Possibly. Like at this point, it's like there's certain things, especially walking the will of God. You have to like, you can't walk in fear. You can't like make decisions out of fear. And so, lessons learned. And I think, it's been really good to be home with family and be home with, especially for this, having Hudson,
Yeah.
So that's like kind of priceless as far as having, my parents' second grandchild. And then, just being able to let them have that opportunity. So there's give and take, pros and cons, but,
sure.
It's definitely not out of the cards that would move back here.
Yeah. Well, I think too, like one thing that I remember is just kind of how much you and Madeline just agonized over the decision.
Oh yeah.
Not in like a super negative way, but like you did the due diligence of really thinking everything through. And that was one thing that always comforted me. Like as someone, we're really good friends.
Right.
And, I look so young and beautiful that people probably wouldn't guess this, but I'm older than you,
You're
right?
significantly.
Significantly so, yeah. There's gray in your beard, dude. No. So
we are what, 6 years apart? 7?
I like to not count.
When was you born?
I would rather not count.
What day?
1990.
90? Yeah, 7. I'm 1997. So
yeah. So there's a lot of things that happen in our relationship where like you're pouring into me and giving me great advice, but then there's things like life things that you'll come to me and be like, dude, I don't know.
Yeah.
And you're like, you're significantly older than me.
You have
and
way
I'm like,
wiser.
And I'm like, I have this thing where I get older, but just never
wiser.
wiser. Yeah. So,
yeah.
I just remember, trying to pour into you and give you good advice. And I think like how everything culminated, right? Like it was the right decision for you guys at the time.
At that time, for sure.
But I think it's cool. Like people know a little bit more about you now as far as like how much you really do love New York and how much I can remember you guys thinking like, okay, I think we need to move. And then we went to a conference.
Oh, yeah. That was the first time we thought about moving.
Yeah, and somebody stood up and they're like, we need people to stop moving from New York.
Literally.
And you were like, okay.
No, it was like the weekend that we were trying to decide, are we going to move or not? And dude, went to this conference and it was like, for church leaders and stuff.
Yeah.
They're just like, man, the only way we're going to affect and like have like see God, a movement of God in the city is y'all stop moving out.
Yeah. Well,
and I was like, okay. At that moment, I was like the obedient thing to do is to stay.
Yeah.
And it was really good because we were in a really dark season with the church. Got out of that season, got our 24/7 space with Swerve Church, and they I felt way better about leaving at the time we did versus if we were going to try to do that first time.
And there was definite obedience there. Like that's what I was going to say. Is like it wasn't like you guys were just like we're up and leaving. You know, there was like this transitional. So and that's another thing about New York too is like it's
very transient.
It's transient, but it's also like it's a lot to move here or move away from here.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot of money, it's a lot of effort, it's a lot of time, especially when you're moving across the country.
Yep.
So that's a big deal, but. Yeah, dude, I enjoyed every moment that you lived in New York. I'm super glad that we started this podcast and were able to like keep up with each other and hang out, even though like we're not in the same location.
We are now.
Well, we are now,
but don't expect this.
Yeah, this is a special episode. Yeah, listen, I'll say this: 50,000 likes.
And I'll move back.
And he'll move back to New York. You know, this will be every week.
I need 10,000 YouTube subscribers. I need 10,000 YouTube subscribers
immediately
to monetize, please.
Yes. So, but yeah, dude, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for visiting. Looking forward to the next time you visit.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Yeah,
we'll see y'all on the next episode.
Yeah,
coming out whenever it comes out.
Yeah, that's the great thing about our podcast. We don't know.
We're spontaneous, so be spontaneous with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool.
Later,
bro.